Today, we're diving into a classic legend from the Sumbawa people of Indonesia. It's a story about a mysterious illness, a desperate king, and a love so powerful that it, and this is not an exaggeration, literally shaped the land itself. So let's get into the legend of Tanjung Menangis, or the Weeping Cape.
Now, what's so cool about this story is that it actually started out as a play, and you can totally see why. It has all the pieces of an amazing drama, right? You've got a sick princess, a treacherous commander, a hero in disguise, and of course, a tragic, heartbreaking ending. It's just one of those timeless tales of love and betrayal that feels like it was just made for the stage.
And that really brings us to the big question here. I mean, it's one thing to tell a good story, but it's something else entirely for that story to become so woven into a culture that it gives a real place its name. So how on earth does a story about deep love and nasty betrayal create a place called the Weeping Cape? Well, let's find out.
Okay, so our story kicks off in the kingdom of Sumbawa. But things are not good. The whole land is just covered in this blanket of sadness because its princess, Lala Mas Bulaeng, has come down with this bizarre illness, and it's casting a shadow of despair over everyone.
And this wasn't just a problem for the royal family. In this kingdom, the people felt this deep, personal connection to their rulers. The belief was, if the king is sad or sick, we feel it too. So the princess's illness became this collective weight, this shared sorrow for the entire kingdom. It really shows you a worldview where the health of the leader is completely tied to the well-being of the people.
So what was this sickness exactly? Well, it wasn't physical. It was this deep, soul-crushing sadness that just completely took over the princess. She started wearing a veil all the time, basically hiding from the world. The king brought in every Sandro, every shaman, every healer in the kingdom, but nobody could do a thing. The people even had a name for it, sakit krik kure, which basically means a sickness of deep, deep melancholy. It's so interesting how cultures create specific names for these emotional states that modern medicine can't quite touch.
So with all his options gone, the king makes a last, desperate move. He calls for a sayembara. Now, this is a classic move in Indonesian folklore. It's a huge royal contest. The king offers up some mind-blowing prize to anyone who can pull off a seemingly impossible task. And in this case, that task was curing his daughter.
And the stakes? They could not have been higher. The news was sent everywhere, even to kingdoms across the sea. And the prize was literally the highest honor you could imagine. Any man who cured the princess would get to marry her, and any woman who succeeded would become her royal sister. The whole kingdom just held its breath, waiting for a hero to show up. And, well, a hero does arrive, but definitely not in the way that anyone saw coming. The arrival of this mysterious stranger from across the sea brings this tiny spark of hope, but it also immediately kicks up a whole lot of conflict and suspicion inside the palace walls.
And right away, we meet our villain, Panglima Mira, the royal commander. When this humble-looking old man shows up at the palace, Mira confronts him with this, just stunningly arrogant line. It tells you everything you need to know about this guy. He is powerful, he is cruel, and he is the classic schemer whose ambition is like a poison in the court.
So this mysterious old man goes to the king and says he can cure the princess. But, and this is a big but, he has some very weird conditions. First, the healing can't happen in the palace. Second, they have to go to the secluded Awak forest. And third, and this is the most suspicious part, no one else can be there. Panglima Mira is, of course, furious, but the king is so desperate that he actually agrees to it.
So, the king hands his daughter over to this stranger. They go out to the forest, and after the treatment is done in total secrecy, a miracle happens. Princess Lala's deep sadness is just gone. She's cured. She's happy and whole for the first time in forever.
The cure is real, no doubt about it. But that just raises an even bigger question. When the princess finally wakes up, she doesn't see an old man. She sees a handsome young warrior. Who is this person who managed to do what every powerful shaman in the kingdom couldn't?
His name is Daeng Paringgi. He's a noble, honorable young man from across the sea who disguised himself as an old man so he could enter the contest without anyone making a fuss. He's the hero the kingdom was waiting for, the classic noble in disguise. And, according to the rules of the sayembara, he's now the princess's fiancé.
But as Daeng Paringgi and the now-cured Princess Lala get ready to head back to the palace and claim their prize, they have no idea they're walking right into a trap. The jealous and ambitious Panglima Mira has used their absence to fill the king's head with a horrible lie. So you get this incredibly dramatic clash of stories. Panglima Mira tells the king, look, no honorable healer would demand that kind of secrecy. This guy just used the whole thing as a cover to dishonor the princess. But when Lala comes back, she passionately defends Daeng's honor, shouting that the real villain is Mira himself, who just wants to marry her to steal the throne.
And tragically, the king's fear and doubt, which were so expertly twisted by Mira, went out. He's so consumed by the commander's poison that he refuses to believe his own daughter. So instead of welcoming his daughter's savior as a son-in-law, he orders his guards to arrest Daeng Paringgi.
Princess Lala is just horrified. She's pleading with her father, trying to get him to see the truth. She screams that Mira's ambition is the real danger here, that he's playing everyone to get Daeng Paringgi out of the way so he can take the throne for himself. But her words just fall on deaf ears.
And then the throne room just explodes into chaos. As the guards try to grab him, Daeng Paringgi, who's a skilled warrior, easily fights them off and escapes the palace. Seeing the man she loves being treated like a criminal, the heartbroken princess just vows she'll find him and flees. And only then, only when he sees his daughter's absolute conviction, does the king finally realize he's made a terrible, terrible mistake.
But the damage is done. The king's horrible misjudgment kicks off this chain of events that can't be stopped, and it all leads to the final tragic moments where a place of pure sorrow gets its name.
Justice for the bad guy comes pretty quick. Daeng Paringgi confronts Panglima Mira and defeats him in a duel. The king's soldiers, now on the right side of things, show up and arrest the disgraced commander, who's sentenced to death for his treason. But for Daeng Paringgi, the victory feels empty. His honor was questioned by the very king he came to help. Heartbroken, he decides he can't stay, and he gets ready to sail home.
Meanwhile, Princess Lala, after fleeing the palace, is desperately trying to find Daeng Paringgi. She follows him to the coast, running to the cape that overlooks the sea, but she gets there just in time to see his ship, sails full of wind, disappearing over the horizon. She's too late.
Standing there on the edge of the cliff, completely devastated, she makes a vow. She speaks to the wind itself, saying her longing for him is too great to ever let go. And she declares that she will stay on that very spot forever, a companion to her endless longing and hopeless hope. And that's where she stayed, weeping for the love that she had found and then lost. The legend doesn't say she cried for a day or a week or a year. It implies her sorrow was infinite. Her tears just flowed endlessly, streaming down the rocks and into the sea below. And that is how the place got its name. Her unending tears of sorrow became a permanent part of the landscape. The cape where she stood for eternity became known to everyone as Tanjung Menangis, the Weeping Cape. It really leaves you wondering, doesn't it? Can a feeling, like sorrow, become so powerful that it outlives the person who felt it and actually becomes a feature of the earth itself?